Before you walk into that kitchen tomorrow morning and crack open a single egg, I need you to hear what I'm about to say. Because there are 7 egg mistakes being made in millions of senior kitchens across this country right now. And the truly frightening part isn't what those mistakes look like, it's that they look like absolutely nothing. No strange smell, no off color, no warning label, just your ordinary breakfast doing quiet damage that doesn't show up until it's already too late. And mistake number 1 on this list, it has nothing to do with how fresh your eggs are or how you cook them. It's about something invisible happening inside your body to your brain, your nerves, and your energy every single morning. Something most doctors never even think to mention at your annual visit. Stay with me until the end, because once you hear number 1, you won't forget it. My name is Dr. Elias, and I've spent years working in preventive medicine with patients in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. And in that time, I've watched the same patterns repeat themselves over and over again. Good people, careful people, people who take their medications on schedule, show up to every checkup, read the labels on their food, and yet something in their daily routine was quietly working against them in a way that was almost impossible to catch. Eggs came up in those conversations more often than most people would expect. Now, I want to be very clear about something before we go any further. I am not here to tell you to stop eating eggs. Eggs are one of the most powerful foods available to you at this stage of life. The protein in a whole egg supports the muscle preservation that literally keeps you on your feet and out of a wheelchair as you age. The choline protects the parts of your brain responsible for memory and focus. The lutein and zeaxanthin guard your retinas against the kind of gradual vision loss that steals your ability to recognize faces and read street signs. And the vitamin D sitting in that yolk becomes harder and harder for your skin to manufacture on its own with each passing decade. That nutritional richness is precisely why the 7 mistakes ahead are so significant. Because when you get it wrong with eggs, you're not just wasting a meal. You're potentially undermining the very systems you're relying on those eggs to protect. So today, we're walking through all 7, counting down from the most easily overlooked all the way to number 1, the mistake hiding in the healthiest looking part of your morning routine. Before we move on, drop your name and your age in the comments. I'd love to know who I'm talking to today. Now, let's get into it. Mistake number 7, storing eggs in the worst spot in your refrigerator. This one feels almost too simple to matter, and that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Most refrigerators come with a molded egg tray built into the door. It holds exactly 12 eggs, it's the perfect shape, and it seems like it was designed specifically for this purpose, which is why almost everyone uses it. But the refrigerator door is the single worst place to store your eggs. Here's why. Every time you open your refrigerator, and research suggests the average household opens it somewhere between 15 and 25 times per day. The door shelf is fully exposed to room temperature air. The temperature in that door compartment can swing several degrees in either direction, repeatedly throughout the day. And eggs are far more sensitive to temperature fluctuation than most people realize. The FDA recommends storing eggs at a consistent 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below. When that consistency is broken repeatedly, the shell's natural protective qualities degrade faster, and the inner membranes that serve as a second line of defense against bacterial penetration weaken over time. This matters more for someone over 60 than it did at 35, because the stomach acid that would normally destroy any bacteria that slip past those defenses becomes less abundant with age and is further reduced by proton pump inhibitors like omeprazole and pantoprazole, which millions of older adults take daily for acid reflux without a second thought. The correction takes 5 seconds. Move your eggs to the coldest, most stable part of your refrigerator, the middle shelf toward the back. Keep them in their original carton, which blocks light and prevents odor absorption through the shell's tiny pores. One move, real protection, no cost. Mistake number 6. The breakfast pairing nobody is talking about eggs never arrive alone. At most breakfast tables in America, they share that plate with bacon, sausage links, breakfast ham, or some combination of all 3. And for decades, the conversation around egg safety has focused almost entirely on the eggs themselves. But here's what the research increasingly points to. The eggs may not be the problem at all. The problem is what's sitting beside them. Processed breakfast meats are among the highest sodium foods in the American diet. A typical 2-strip serving of bacon adds around 400 milligrams of sodium to your morning before you've touched anything else. For adults over 60 managing blood pressure, and the CDC estimates that nearly 70% of American adults over 65 have hypertension. The recommended daily sodium ceiling is around 1,500 milligrams. A standard bacon and eggs plate can consume a substantial portion of that allowance before 8 a.m. Beyond sodium, processed meats contain nitrates and nitrites preservation compounds that, under certain digestive conditions, can form compounds associated with increased cardiovascular and metabolic risk. The World Health Organization has classified processed meat as a Group 1 carcinogen, specifically because of the strength of this evidence. Here's the sting. Multiple large nutrition studies have found that when eggs are analyzed in isolation, their cardiovascular risk profile is actually quite favorable for healthy adults. But when eggs are consistently paired with processed meats, which is exactly how most Americans eat them, the overall risk picture shifts in a concerning direction. The eggs were never the villain. The company they were keeping was. The solution isn't complicated. Pair your eggs with avocado for potassium and healthy fat. Add leafy greens sautéed lightly in olive oil. Serve fresh fruit alongside. Choose whole grain toast over processed white bread. These pairings let eggs do what they're designed to do: protect your heart, your brain, and your muscle mass without the sodium and nitrate burden that cancels those benefits out. If you're still watching and this is helping you, type the number 6 in the comments so I know you're here with me. Mistake number 5. Cooking eggs on scorching high heat. If you scramble your eggs, this one is going to surprise you. The habit for most people is simple. Get the pan hot, add the eggs, move them around fast, done in 2 minutes. Efficiency feels responsible. But what's happening to the nutrition inside those eggs while that pan is screaming hot is a different story. The yolk contains cholesterol. That's widely known. What almost nobody outside of nutritional biochemistry knows is that at very high cooking temperatures, the cholesterol inside the yolk can become oxidized, chemically transformed into compounds called oxysterols. Oxysterols are not the same as regular dietary cholesterol. Several peer-reviewed studies published in nutritional science journals have found that oxysterols behave far more aggressively in the body than intact dietary cholesterol. While regular egg cholesterol has a modest effect on blood cholesterol levels in most healthy adults, oxidized cholesterol compounds have been associated in research with direct arterial inflammation, the kind of low-grade, chronic inflammation that silently damages blood vessel walls over years. In other words, the cholesterol in a properly cooked egg is not your main concern. The oxidized cholesterol in a high-heat, rapidly cooked egg might be. High heat also degrades heat-sensitive nutrients, including certain B vitamins and the carotenoids lutein and zeaxanthin, the same antioxidants your retinas depend on. The fix is low and slow. Scrambled eggs cooked over medium-low heat, stirred gently and removed from the pan just before they appear fully set, letting residual heat finish the job, preserve far more nutrition. They also taste noticeably better, creamier, softer, richer. If you prefer fried eggs, keep the heat at medium and briefly cover the pan to steam cook the top instead of flipping aggressively. Patience at the stove is not laziness, it's nutrition. Mistake number 4, reheating egg dishes the wrong way. If you batch cook preparing a frittata or a week's worth of hard-boiled eggs on Sunday, this one is written specifically for you. Cooking ahead is genuinely one of the smartest strategies for maintaining a healthy diet, especially if daily cooking has become harder on your joints or your energy. The mistake isn't in the preparation, the mistake is in the reheating. Microwaves heat unevenly. Most people understand this in a general sense, but don't fully appreciate what it means for egg dishes specifically. When you microwave a leftover egg casserole or frittata, it is entirely possible for the outer portions to reach a safe serving temperature while the center of the dish remains significantly cooler, well below the 165 degrees Fahrenheit that the FDA identifies as sufficient to neutralize harmful bacteria that can develop in cooked eggs stored in the refrigerator. You eat the dish, it's warm, the center looked fine, but a section of it never reached a safe temperature and you had no way to know. This risk is magnified by two factors that apply specifically to older adults. First, the immune response weakens naturally with age, meaning a bacterial load that causes nothing more than mild discomfort in a younger adult can produce genuine illness in someone over 65. Second, proton pump inhibitors and antacids, among the most widely prescribed medications to seniors, reduce stomach acid, removing one of the body's primary defenses against ingested bacteria. The correction is simple. Stir or rotate the dish once or twice during reheating to distribute heat more evenly. And invest in a simple food thermometer, one of the most underutilized and inexpensive kitchen tools in existence. Insert it into the center of the dish before eating. 4 seconds of confirmation. Complete peace of mind. Before we get to the final three, and especially before number one, which genuinely surprised some of my colleagues when I first brought it up, please take just a moment to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. It costs you nothing, and it helps this channel reach more people over 60 who could genuinely use this information. Now let's keep going. Mistake number 3, ignoring what's actually printed on the egg carton. Most people pick up a carton of eggs, check the price, glance at the expiration date, maybe confirm it says large and move on. In doing so, they walk right past information that can make a meaningful difference in the actual nutritional value of what they bring home. Here's something the egg industry doesn't go out of its way to advertise. Not all eggs contain the same nutrition. The nutrient profile of an egg is substantially shaped by what the hen was fed and how she lived. A study published in the journal Renewable Agriculture and Food Systems found that eggs from hens with genuine outdoor pasture access contain significantly higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids, vitamin E, and vitamin D compared to conventional factory-farmed eggs. Why does that matter after 60? Omega-3 fatty acids are directly associated in clinical research with reduced systemic inflammation, better cardiovascular outcomes, and protection of cognitive function. These are the precise areas where risk increases most sharply with age. And vitamin D, essential for bone density, immune function, mood regulation, and increasingly linked in research to reduce cardiovascular risk, is one of the nutrients most commonly deficient in older adults. So here is what to actually look for on that carton. Pasture raised refers to how the hen lived genuine outdoor access, natural foraging. This is the label that most directly corresponds to improved nutrient content. Omega-3 enriched means the hens were fed a diet high in flaxseed or fish oil, boosting the omega-3 content of every egg they produced. Cage-free, and I say this carefully, does not mean what most people assume. Cage-free hens are not in individual cages, but they may live entirely indoors in densely crowded conditions that produce eggs nutritionally similar to conventional eggs. The label sounds better than the reality it describes. Pasture-raised eggs cost more, but they're delivering more of what your body needs right now at this stage of life when nutrient absorption is already less efficient than it was 20 years ago. If you've made it this far and you're getting value from this, type the number 3 in the comments. Mistake number 2, not adjusting your egg intake for your specific medical condition. I want to speak to you here the way I would a patient sitting directly across from me in my office. For most healthy adults over 60, the current research supports eating whole eggs regularly without significant cardiovascular concern. The large-scale review studies of the past decade have largely cleared dietary cholesterol as a primary driver of heart disease in otherwise healthy individuals. The 2015-2020 dietary guidelines for Americans removed the long-standing numerical limit on dietary cholesterol, a change that was well overdue. But there is a critical exception that does not receive nearly enough attention in mainstream health content. For adults living with type 2 diabetes, the research picture is more nuanced. Several large observational studies, including analyses published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition and the British Medical Journal, have identified associations between high whole egg consumption, consistently more than 1 egg per day, and elevated cardiovascular risk, specifically in individuals with existing diabetes or insulin resistance. The mechanism isn't fully established. Researchers believe the interaction between dietary cholesterol and the metabolic environment created by chronically elevated blood sugar may produce outcomes that differ from those seen in non-diabetic individuals. It is not a settled area of science, but it is a signal serious enough to take to your doctor. This also applies to people living with chronic kidney disease. Egg whites are an excellent protein source for kidney patients. High quality, low phosphorus, low potassium, producing minimal metabolic waste. Whole eggs, however, carry more phosphorus, and in advanced kidney disease, phosphorus management becomes genuinely critical. The answer is not automatically to avoid whole eggs. The answer is to have that conversation with your nephrologist or renal dietitian and build a plan that fits your kidney function, not a general recommendation written for the average person. The mistake isn't eating eggs. The mistake is applying general public guidance to a specific medical situation without checking. Mistake number 1, not knowing that partially raw egg whites are quietly depleting a critical nutrient your nerves depend on. I want you to stay with me through this explanation because it requires a moment of focus. But once you understand it, you'll carry it with you for the rest of your life. Raw egg whites contain a protein called avidin. Avidin has an exceptionally strong binding affinity for biotin, also known as vitamin B7. When avidin encounters biotin in your digestive system, it binds to it and prevents it from being absorbed into your bloodstream. The biotin passes through your body unused. Now, your first thought might be, I don't eat raw egg whites. But consider this carefully. Soft scrambled eggs, where the white is still partially translucent, and wet raw egg white content. An omelet pulled from the pan while the center folds are still visibly jelly-like raw egg white content. An undercooked frittata, a soft egg casserole baked at too low a temperature, eggs stirred into hot soup just before serving. All of these involve varying amounts of undenatured, biologically active avidin. And here is why this matters specifically after 60. Biotin is essential to the health of your peripheral nervous system, the network of nerves extending from your spinal cord into your hands, feet, and legs. Biotin deficiency has been clinically associated with peripheral neuropathy, numbness, tingling, burning sensation, and pain in the hands and feet. These symptoms are frequently attributed entirely to diabetes or to aging itself, and that attribution is sometimes wrong, because a nutritional component is going unaddressed. Biotin is also critical for the metabolism of fats, carbohydrates, and proteins, meaning a deficiency affects your energy production at a cellular level, and it plays a documented role in the structural health of hair follicles, which is why biotin deficiency often presents first as unexpected hair thinning. What makes this especially relevant for seniors is that certain common long-term medications, including extended antibiotic use and specific anti-seizure drugs, deplete biotin further. Some older adults are already running a biotin deficit before breakfast, and then they eat a soft scrambled egg that still has active avidin in the undercooked white, which binds and removes more of what little biotin their system has left. Clinical case studies published in nutritional medicine literature have documented peripheral neuropathy and hair loss in patients whose primary dietary driver of biotin depletion was the regular consumption of undercooked or raw egg whites. This is not a theoretical risk. It has been documented in real patients. The solution costs nothing and requires no new ingredients. Cook your egg whites fully. Heat completely denatures avidin. It destroys the protein structure that allows it to bind biotin. A fully cooked egg white is not only safe in this regard, it becomes one of the cleanest, most bioavailable protein sources in your diet. The biotin stays where it belongs in your nervous system, doing its job. This is the mistake hiding inside the most ordinary looking breakfast. The slightly soft, slightly undercooked eggs that feel healthy and light. Quietly, meal by meal, pulling a critical nutrient out of the very nerves you depend on to feel your feet on the floor beneath you. Now you know. 3 professional habits that make eggs safer and better starting tomorrow. Bonus tip 1. Read the Julian date, not just the sell-by date. Look for the 3-digit Julian date code printed on the narrow side of most egg cartons. This number from 1 to 365 represents the actual calendar day the eggs were packed. Day 1 is January 1st. Day 200 is mid-July. The sell-by date can legally be printed up to 45 days after that packing date. Knowing the Julian date tells you exactly how old your eggs truly are and helps you choose the freshest carton on the shelf. Bonus tip 2. The ice bath peel method for arthritic hands. After hard boiling your eggs, transfer them immediately into a bowl of ice water for a full 15 minutes. This rapid temperature drop contracts the cooked eggs slightly inside the shell, creating a natural separation between the membrane and the white. The shell then peels away cleanly in just 2 or 3 large pieces with minimal grip force required. Place the cooled egg on a flat surface, press your palm gently on top, and roll it once to crack the shell evenly before peeling. Far less effort, far fewer fragments. Bonus tip 3. Add healthy fat to absorb more of the eye-protecting nutrients. Lutein and zeaxanthin, the carotenoids in egg yolks that protect your retinas, are fat-soluble. They require dietary fat present in the same meal to be properly absorbed. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that eating eggs alongside a fat-containing food increased carotenoid absorption dramatically compared to eating the same foods without accompanying fat. Add half an avocado, a drizzle of olive oil, or a small handful of walnuts to your egg meal. That's not indulgence, that's strategic nutrition. And that brings me to something I want to say before we close, because it's the most important thing I'll say in this entire video. Everything I've shared today, the storage habits, the pairings, the cooking temperatures, the label reading, the biotin connection, all of it is designed to work alongside the care you're already receiving from your doctor, not instead of it. If you're managing diabetes, kidney disease, heart disease, or any other chronic condition, please bring what you learned today to your next appointment. Show your physician, ask how it applies specifically to you, because general guidance, no matter how well researched, always needs to be filtered through your personal medical history. This video is for education, your doctor is for decisions, and I mean that sincerely, not as a legal footnote, but as a physician who genuinely wants what's best for you. Here is what I want you to walk away with today. Eggs are not your enemy. Prepared and chosen correctly, they are one of the most powerful foods available to protect your brain, your vision, your muscle mass, and your independence. That is the truth about eggs after 60. But the 7 mistakes we covered today are real. They've been present in kitchens across America for decades, not because people are careless, but because nobody sat down and explained them clearly. Now someone has. Which of these 7 surprised you the most? And which one were you already making without realizing it? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and your responses shape what I create next. If even one thing you heard today changes something you do tomorrow morning, type switching it up in the comments below. That one small change is how real lasting health is built, one breakfast at a time. Take care of yourself. I'll see you in the next one.